So today we do have Ron Rubin, who is an amazing voice coach and voice actor. He's had the privilege of voicing some pretty amazing characters there. So really happy to have the pleasure to work with him on this webinar here. And without any further ado, let me introduce Ron Rubin, the amazing, the energetic, always fun, skilled coach here that we have joining us today. Ron?
I'm here. Hi, Kyle. How are you?
Not too bad. How you doing today, Ron?
Good. Welcome. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you all right. We're good.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's going to be a lot of fun. My name is Ron Rubin, and we're going to be talking about the world of animation and creating awesome character voices for cartoons. I've been very lucky. I've had the privilege of making a career from voicing animation, and I'm just going to share a few of those tips and techniques that I've learned over the last several decades with you. First off, I just want to talk about the vocal shift in animation over the years. When I first started off, when I was doing cartoons in the 80s and before then, the cartoons were very cartoony. They were very wacky, Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera, and everything was Bugs Bunny and over the top kind of kooky characters. And there's still a lot of that going on these days, but then it kind of shifted and it got very serious and dramatic because a lot of the comic book franchises, started getting into the game, and DC and Marvel Comics and X-Men and Avengers and the Dark Knight, and it started getting very kind of, deep and dramatic and serious. And these days, there's a lot of cartoons that are using, I don't know if I'm going to say natural voices, but not over the top cartoony, just the same way that commercials have gone more natural and conversational. A lot of cartoons are using natural voices, and we're going to get into all the different voices later. So basically, there's a whole, there's a plethora of voices you can do for animation these days. But regardless of what voice you do, the important thing is, I don't want you to just, when I work with a student, I don't want them just to put on a voice and read the lines. I want them to become the character, fully inhabit and commit to the character 100%. Let's just talk about the difference between commercial reads and animation reads for a second. As a rule in the business, straight reads are considered commercial narration e-learning, and you still have to work with your attitude and energy and pace and everything, but you're using your natural vocal tones, and I consider those voiceovers. And when it comes to animation, I really consider that voice acting, because you really have to, as I said, not just say the lines, but really become the part. Unlike TV or film or theater or anything, you're in front of the camera or live audience, you can't hide behind hair and makeup and costumes and wardrobe and set design. Everything has to be conveyed with your voice. Every part of that character has to be, conveyed, and you have to use your voice to create a fully developed three-dimensional character. So anything you can do to help you with your acting, with your vocal quality is so helpful. If you can take acting classes, improv, stand up and do characters, singing lessons, anything like that would really help you quite a lot. It doesn't matter, how old you are, what your gender is, what you look like. Everything is coming through the voice, and so it all comes down to how you sound, what you say, and how you say it. And now we're going to start talking about a few little things that I think might help you on your vocal journey. At least I hope they do. So the first one is just, have fun. Like seriously, you got to put your ego aside and just play and create, The only limitation is your imagination. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it's so true. Women can play boys and men can play women. And, in my career, I've played 10-year-old boys who sound like this and 110-year-old men like this and, crazy, wacky, kooky, characters and tough guys and mad professors and robots and dogs and everything. So seriously, the only limitation is your imagination. The reason I say put your ego aside is because, when I work with students in the studio, it's okay to be a little nervous, but allow yourself to be silly, allow yourself to play and to create. I remember years ago, decades ago, when animation wasn't what it is today, some friends of mine who are very serious actors at Shaw and Stratford, got asked to audition, and I remember them saying, I wouldn't be caught dead playing a French bunny rabbit. I did King Lear last season, and now they would kill to be the French bunny rabbit. It truly is the best gig in the world. So we're just here to have fun today. The next thing I want to talk about is energy. Okay, this is really important. And if you're in the studio and the voice director tells you pick up the energy, it doesn't necessarily mean talking faster or louder, right? Talking faster is more the pace, and talking louder is more projection. It's the intensity and the focus that you kind of bring to the role. You have to give your everything to the role. I have a few examples here. If I'm playing like a big monster, that's Strunk, I think, from Bakugan, and I'm giving him this big, large voice, of course I'm going to give it all the energy and intensity in the world. But on the other hand, if I'm playing a cute little Care Bear, hi, Messy Bear, and the voice is like this, I'm still going to give it everything I have, and I'm still going to give it the full focus and 100% of the energy, that comes with the character. And who else do we have? Morph from X-Men, right. So this was my natural voice, maybe a half octave higher, but even then it's going to be, hey, Wolverine, get Professor Xavier, we've got to get to the cave and save the X-Men. It's got to be very intense and very focused. So once again, energy isn't just talking louder, it's the intensity, it's the internalization of the voice. So that's very important. The next thing is attitude. Okay, I love this phrase, know your audience, know your attitude. And what that means is understand what kind of animation you're auditioning for, right? If it's preschool, you might have a different take on it than if it's prime time. You can get away with a lot more stuff. Or if it's a Disney or Pixar movie, or if it's anime, or if it's Saturday morning cartoons. I recently auditioned for a part to play this monster in this cartoon series, and the vocal reference they sent me was like the guy who does the voices for Alien and Predator. So I went in there and gave him this very scary voice, and they said, "That's great, Ron, but this is for preschool animation, so that might scare the 4 and 5-year-olds." so we really had to, we ended up going with a very different direction. So know your audience, know your attitude. This is an animation talk here today. So let's just talk about the different types of animation quickly. The two main ones are original and dubbing, or ADR, which I think stands for additional dialogue recording. So 90% of the cartoons that you see, Saturday morning cartoons, primetime cartoons, movies, they lay down the voice track first, okay? So, and then they draw to it later. Not everyone knows that. And so I'm in the studio with the voice director and the writer and the producer, and I'm giving you the best performance I can possibly give. And then they animate to my voice afterwards. Whereas anime or any cartoon that's coming in from another country that's already been the dialogue's already been set in that language, and you have to transfer it to American or English. That's a whole different process. And what happens there's a few different methods. It used to be wipes and beeps. Now it's a thing called rhythmoband, where the words are going across the screen as you're watching it, and you're basically reading the words, and it's matching the lip movements, the mouth movements. So the performance isn't quite as good as if you were just able to act on your own, but those are basically the two major types of animation. Also, there's when I first started out and did some of the big cartoons, the Beetlejuice and Police Academy and X-Men, and it was ensemble recording, which meant you're in the studio with the entire cast, okay, which is awesome. It takes a while, but it's awesome because you can play off of other people, which is so important in acting. Acting is reacting, right? But these days, more times than not, they're going to bring you in for the sake of probably time and money. They're going to bring you in to do your parts, so you're in there for 20 minutes or an hour or something, and you're out. Or if there's like two leads in the series that kind of talk back and forth a lot, they'll bring those two people in. So I just want to explain a little bit about animation. So those are some of the different types of it. And now let's talk about the voices. I'm going to have a little honey and tea in case you're wondering. I touched on this a little before with the shift in vocal voices. I guess what I want to get across is I don't want you to be intimidated if you don't do crazy, kooky, over the top, cartoony voices. I mean, that's great if you do, but I want you to also play with your natural tonality, right? Because take your own voice. Yeah, pretend you have a cold and kind of create a nerdy, geeky kind of a character, you know? Add a little gravel or rasp and kind of see where that takes you. Kind of go as high as you can, or squeeze, compress your vocal cords. Don't choke yourself, but compress your vocal cords and see how cartoony you can get, or just be kind of, put a little crackle in your voice and just kind of, be that goofy next door neighbor or that, best friend or something like that. So there's a lot of different places to go with your voice when it comes to animation. So as I said, if you do wacky, crazy, cartoony voices, that's great, but don't worry too much, because when I work with students, I use their natural tonality and maybe make them a kick-ass anime hero or heroine, and got to get to the cave before Dr. Zykar returns, or just do something a little more dramatic. And accents are helpful, but I don't put accents on a demo for the sake of an accent. Let's turn it into an actual character, right? So, there are accents that are used more than others in animation. It's great to have, a good New York accent or a British accent. But if you do a great Scottish or Irish or Australian or whatever, that's great that you do the accent. But now let's form a character with that accent. And I have to work with you in person for that. Okay. Next, I want to talk about commitment to character. And this is so important, okay? The word committing to character is essential in voice acting and animation and gaming. You have to know how your character sounds, right, and reacts, how they laugh, how they cry, how they yell, how they sneeze, and 100 other things. So if I'm doing, because it's going to be used in the series, and also it's a good acting exercise because it's really good character development. So if you're creating a character, kind of like, how would he laugh? How would he sneeze? And it just helps the overall commitment to the character. Almost every cartoon I do, on the first day after we do record an episode, after we have an episode in the can, we do what's called the sound effects library. And I'm there. The other actors do it independently. And basically, whatever character you're playing, you go through a whole list of all the emotions and reactions so that they can use it in post-production down the line, and they can kind of put it in there and they don't have to call you back. So I think I have an example of, laughter, coughing, sneezing, exertions, which is just falling, impact. I won't do all these for you. Curious sounds, uh-ohs, happy sounds, sad sounds, frustrated sounds, crying, screaming, all that kind of stuff. So this is what usually happens on every cartoon series that I've done, that you have to lay that sound effects track down. And as I said, if you're developing a character, it's a great way to really get into your character and learn about it as well. Am I allowed to take a breath?
I was ahead of you.
That's okay. Keep going. Okay, we're about to be physical. This is so weird. I'm so used to teaching, in person, in a workshop or with people one-on-one, and I can't see any of you. Sorry, but I hope you're enjoying this. And please write down your questions to ask me for later. Definitely. So the other thing is being physical is so important in creating your character. It really is. Mimic the body language of the character, and it really helps you. When I teach commercial, just putting a smile on your face makes night and day with half the reads. Like my normal voice is sounding like this. If I put an artificial smile on my face, just the positive kind of influence that gives you, excuse me, helps the read a lot. And with animation, you really want to become the character. Sorry if I'm being repetitive with that notion, but it's just so important. So I want you to be in the studio. Let's just talk about studio etiquette 101. Always have your feet planted. You don't want to make noise with the feet, and get rid of all the jingles and jangles and bangles that you might be wearing, and a ticking watch and change in your pocket and anything like that. But when it comes to body language, be ready to be very physical. I want you to inhabit the character, right? You know, if I'm playing a superhero, I'm going to have my chest, arched back and my hands here, and I'm going to be giving that whole, body language. If I'm a scared little rabbit hovering in the corner, and I'm just going to kind of give it my all, but I'm also going to, my body language is going to kind of help me with that. If I'm playing an evil mad scientist, my hands are going to be up flailing in the air, and my face is going to look crazy, but it all really helps the recording. So, once again, don't just say your lines, become the character. And with what we've been talking about with energy and attitude and commitment and sound effects and being physical, these are all things that really help you get into the character and hopefully help you get the part. Now you can change, Kyle. What's next? Oh, okay. All right. So the next thing I want to touch on is always have a vocal reference, okay? And that's a laugh or a couple of words or some sound effects when recalling or creating a voice. So let me explain what I mean. One of the questions I get asked, a lot is, how do you remember all your characters? Because if you audition for something and you get the gig, if you book the role, you might not be recording that for a few weeks, a few months, a year, Also, if you're in studio and you're you have time in between, your lines, you really have to be focused and recall that character, not just his voice, but the attitude and everything. So every character I've ever developed, I've given what I call a vocal reference or a signature laugh or a couple of words to really get me into that character again. And when I work with students and they're developing characters, I have them do the same thing. So I recall characters this way, and I'll give you a few examples. Okay, there's Master Zox from Sidekick, right? So he's kind of a mad, evil kind of, he kind of talks like that. But if I do his laugh, then all of a sudden I'm in character 100%, and his voice is there and his attitude is there. So that laugh just gets me right in. And you know what? I don't even have to do the laugh out loud. I can kind of just do it in my head and get into it. I think we have a few more, Kyle. Okay, so this is Quantum Vigilante from Captain Flamingo. And on the first day of recording, he just had a line, and all it was, I will save you. And that's all it was. And that just stuck in my mind. Now, every time I had to do him, I just say, I'll save you. And I continue talking that way. And it informs the voice and it informs my attitude. So sometimes it's a couple words. Sometimes it's a laugh. Let's keep going, Kyle. Yeah, this is Flubbo from Beetlejuice, right? So he's kind of like a Droopy the dog kind of voice. And once again, his laugh was, whoa, dear. And as soon as I say that, I get right in there. So with him, I can either... I could do the laugh and get into it, or oh dear, and I do that. And all I have to do is oh dear, and I'm off to the races, and I know exactly where he is. And so that's it. Do we have any more?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay. I think I need more tea and honey. Okay. Yeah. This is Frenzel from Erky Perky. I don't know if the people out there in the audience have seen these cartoons or not, but Frenzel was like a really gross, bug, and he was kind of down here and everything. But once again, the laugh. Was that? And as soon as I do the laugh, I got the attitude, I got the energy, I got the voice, I got everything, And Frenzel was interesting. And I just thought of this now. Sometimes it's fun, because we're talking about creating voices today. Sometimes it's fun to take two voices or an accent and a voice and an octave and put them together and create a tertiary voice, create a third voice. So when I was auditioning for him, I had a callback, and they said, we want him New York. He's from New York. Okay, so, they did my, typical Joe Pesci, New York. Hey, come on, you figure moron. And then they said, yeah, but he's really gross and gravelly and everything. All right, so, this is my gross and gravelly voice. So I combined this with this, and I ended up with something like this. And so you still got the little bit of a high with New York, and you still got the gravelly down there. So that's just another example of how to create voices. Just take two things and put them together, or try things in a different octave, okay? Let's just stick with that New York thing. So there's the New York in a high voice. Well, what if I did that same accent, but just gave it a little gravel and dropped my octave? Then all of a sudden, here's that same accent, but it's like down there, and there's a new character. Or you can do it, or you can do it anywhere. So when you're playing with your voices or accents, try different octaves, Try the more compressed, try the more open from the diaphragm, try it with a little bit of rasp, try it with a lisp, just play, play, play. So that's how I recall voices. Now, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk to you about creating voices. So by using that same technique that I just showed you, and by using a little reverse engineering, I'm going to show you how to create some voices. So who do we got up there? Okay, so what I do in my workshops and when I work with people one-on-one, and everyone out there can do that on your own. There's thousands of cartoon images online. Take a look at an image and give him a sound, or her. Give him a sound or a laugh or a something. Like, what do you see here? Obviously, yeah, he's very wet and then he's got bubbles and everything coming out of his lips, right? So if I was to give him a laugh, I don't know. I don't know. It'd be slurpy and wet and everything. And then I would take that and I would just keep talking. Hey, how you doing, lads? By the way, you got a Kleenex? You got a little wet here. So that's just one example. There's 1,000 places to go with this, but that's just an example of starting with a laugh. And I don't want you to do a laugh and then do a completely different voice. Like, and then do like a different voice. The whole exercise here is do the laugh and go straight into character. I think we have a few more, Kyle.
Yes, we do.
Okay, here's a cute little mouse. Although he kind of looks like, with him, I look at him and I don't see a laugh necessarily. I just kind of say, kind of a little, hey, what are you looking at? Just kind of a little kind of that sort of thing. So maybe it's if I was to give him a little, I would kind of compress it, keep it up there. And then in that same kind of, compressed octave, I would just keep talking. Yeah, I know my tail stripe. What of it? Hey, quit looking at me. What are you looking at, buddy? So with him, it's just a sound or it's just a few words. Okay, what's next?
I like that one.
Oh, okay. So this one obviously is a very goofy looking bird with big eyes, right? Whoa! The first thing that comes to my mind is just whoa. And then I just keep talking like this, I guess, So you take that first whoa and you keep talking. Hi, how you doing? What are you looking at? Well, my sunglasses. It's awfully bright in here. So that's just one way to go with it. We can go, 100 different ways. And my way isn't the right way. It's just, my first impression. And I think there's one last one here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a cool cat or a stoned cat or something, and he looks pretty chill, and his mouth is just like open, like whoa. I just like the first time I looked at this picture, it was just like whoa. Hey man, so I might go like kind of a surfer dude or something here. I think someone put a lot of extra nip in my catnip last night, dude. I don't, you can do that. You can go anywhere you want, but sometimes it's, I'm thinking of a few other ways to go with this guy, but just take a look at pictures and create a sound, create a noise, create a laugh, create a couple words, and just go with that. And that's another way to create characters. Okay.
It's a really cool trick, by the way, like just seeing how well you flow through that. It is a really cool trick. So I like that.
Yeah. And the important thing, Kyle, is like I said, go with, if the laugh is here, then keep talking like that. Like a lot of people, they'll do the laugh and then they'll, like if I give them a cliche pirate, everyone kind of can do a har, har, har. But then they break character and my name is Captain whatever. So the trick is har, har, har. My name is Captain whatever, to keep doing that. And it's a really great way to, we're limited on time. So maybe in the questions or another time we can talk about like auditions and demos and stuff like that. But when you're auditioning for something, you want to kind of give them what they want, but also do something that's maybe, a little out of the box and give them an alternative kind of read. But as far as creating characters, just always be, practicing and always use your insight, your creative. Like if 100 people looked at this, you get 100 different voices, which is the beauty of it. So just, create your own voice. Okay.
Sure. Like you said, create and play, right?
Yeah, create and play. Absolutely. It's all coming back. Okay. Next, I just want to talk about reading. This is kind of the drier part of the of the talk, but I cannot emphasize enough how important having good reading skills is to voice work. I don't care if it's narration, audiobooks, e-learning, commercials, animation, gaming, it doesn't matter. I work with a lot of people who can do some funny voices, but that's only half, the battle. They have to be able to, because a lot of times you're going to get cold reads and you're going to get scripts in, you got to get an audition out, that hour. And it's all about, marking your script, knowing where the breaths are, knowing where the emphasis is, knowing kind of how to interpret the script, because the writer and the producer, they all got approval of what's down on the page. By the time you get the finished copy, it's an approved script. And if you read it in a way that it wasn't meant, well, put it this way, let's be positive. If you read it how it was meant to be, they're going to say, oh, this person gets the script. What I have down here is so true for all voice work. The secret to all voice work is reading your lines without making it sound like you're reading your lines. Okay. So that's, that should be obvious. If it's not, you're never going to get a part that you audition for if you're saying the part as if you're reading the lines. You're never going to book a commercial. Right now at McDonald's, you can buy this Big Mac for 99 cents. Like if it sounds like you're reading it, it's not going to work. It's got to be yours. Right now at McDonald's, you can buy this Big Mac for 99 cents. You just got to make it yours with personality and with a smooth, fluid kind of a read. And emphasis is so important. I find this, by hitting the wrong words, it completely changes everything. Here's a really neat example. This is a sentence. It's got 7 words. And if I emphasize a different word, it's got 7 meanings. This is really cool. So the sentence is, I never said she stole my money. Okay. And I'm going to read it 7 ways. And all I'm doing is emphasizing a different word. I never said she stole my money. 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 Okay. So that's kind of fun. Like literally you got 7 words there and you have 7 completely different meanings depending how you emphasize it. So just keep that in mind when you're marking your script, when you're rehearsing it, when you're auditioning, just really pay attention to not only your line, but what comes before it and what comes after it, right? Because as I said before, acting is reacting. And so whenever you're auditioning, and usually when you audition, you're not reading with other people, it's just your lines by themselves. So make sure you read the line that's that you're reacting to and get the right emphasis and the right read on it. Everyone has a pause machine on whatever editing program you're working with, and take the time to pause it and to understand what's coming your way. And finally, just always be practicing. Okay. This is so important. I record your voices, keep a list of all your characters with names and backstories, create an ongoing Rolodex, which is just a list of all your animated voices. And this is really important. If you want to be a voice actor, you need an animation voice actor. You have to be practicing all the time. Everybody has, if you don't have a home studio, everyone has an iPhone that has a voice memo on it. Record your voices, because it's really different. Do you notice this, Kyle? It's so different how people think they sound and how they actually sound. The first time people hear their voice back, it's like, oh my God, is that me? and so what you think you sound like might be different from what you actually sound like, because you're hearing it, in your head, and you're not hearing how you actually sound. Also, it's great to just constantly, whether you're on the internet doing the exercise I told you about with characters, when I'm out and about, if I'm at the bank or the grocery store or anywhere, I'll look at people and I'll kind of say, what kind of voice they have. And and even, how about when people are practicing voices, they're always thinking of kind of, sometimes they tend to go to cliche voices and stuff. How about that kooky aunt or uncle you have, or that goofy next door neighbor, or that friend of yours who's got the quirky voice? That's what they're looking for. A lot of the producers, talent agents, casting agents, they get a lot of demos and they hear, similar voices time and time again. I try to bring out, unique voices. That's what they're looking for, something that they haven't heard before. And also, as part of your exercise, when students want to do a demo with me, they say, what can I do to prepare? And I say, make a list of all your voices, and then give them a name, give them a backstory. Just the more you know about the character, the more it brings to the voice. Write a couple lines of dialogue so you have something to work with, and this is so important, not just in creating a demo, but if you're auditioning, eventually you get a whole list of 6 or 12 or 20 or 100 voices. And when a part comes your way and say they're calling for, a certain type of character, you can kind of go, oh, right, I have Max, and Max would be good for this part, if they're asking for a goofy adult or a little, hyper boy or this or that, if you have a whole list of things, you can draw from that. And also, it's not written down, but play to your strengths and avoid the weaknesses. Not everybody can do every voice, right? And some people get a lot of work with their natural voice. They got a cute or a sweet or a quirky or a sexy, or they have a unique quality to their own voice, and they're going to get a lot of work just with that voice. Other people do 100 different voices. So just go play with your strengths. You might not be able to do everything, but there is so much room in this industry to offer you all sorts of parts and all sorts of productions. The good news is there's lots of production happening in gaming and animation. The bad news, which you probably already know, is there's a lot of competition. So, you have to stand out, and you have to be unique, and you have to really commit to your characters. I hope the few points I went through today help you. I know we don't have that much more time, so I just want to do a quick recap of what we talked about today. So the first thing is just have fun, just play and create, the only limitation is your imagination. Just kind of feel free to be silly and have fun. The next one is your energy. And remember how I said energy is not talking faster or louder. It's the intensity and focus that you bring to the character. Thirdly, attitude, right? Know your audience, know your attitude. We talked about the different types of animation: original versus ADR and dubbing, ensemble versus solo recording. Wow, we covered a lot of stuff today, Kyle.
We did. We did. Gone through the recap. I'm like, wow,
I know. Have I done all this? By the way, I have no idea if I've been talking for 10 minutes or 40 minutes. I have no idea.
We're reaching 40, almost.
We're reaching what, 40?
Yeah, it's almost 140.
Wow. Okay. I don't mind going a little late on Q&A. So types of, you should have cut me off. Types of voices. I talked about, cartoony versus natural versus, accents. The fourth one is commitment to character. And that's knowing all the sound effects, how your character laughs and sneezes and chuckles and does all that kind of stuff. Next, be physical with your character, mimic the body language, and when you're in studio, become the character. 6 was the vocal reference, right? Which is a great way to create characters, give it a laugh, and start talking that way. And it's also a great way to recall the characters. 7 was reading and emphasis, how important it is. Read books, but not to yourself. Read out loud, okay, and really tell the story. It's crucial how important reading is to voiceovers. And finally, 8 is just keep practicing, always be practicing, and keep a list of your characters, and just always be creating and playing and practicing. Animation is the best gig in the world, and it's not the easiest one to break into, but there's lots of opportunity, and if you have what it takes, it's just a really special way to create a career. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you for letting me go on and on here today. I hope you got something out of this, and I really appreciate it. And I think I'm back to you, Kyle.
Yeah, and before you guys start heading out there, we're not done yet. We do have the Q&A session. So I know there was some questions that came rolling in. Sorry, as I was driving the presentation, I wasn't able to check them. So sorry if I didn't get to any that were urgent. But if you have any questions with regards to our subject matter, and for Ron here, definitely utilize the Q&A section down there. I'm going to start going through them right now. And if we don't get to every question, I do apologize. I mean, we do have 20 minutes, but depending on how many questions there is, if your question didn't get answered or we didn't get to it, feel free to, again, reach out to Ron. You can check out his website, ronrubinvoice.com. There is a contact me page there. So for anyone we don't get to, I do apologize, but feel free to reach out to Ron afterwards. And
thanks for that, Kyle. And yes, it's ronrubinvoice.com is my website. I'll just give you a little warning. I'm crazy. Like, luckily I'm crazy busy voicing and coaching and doing my own cartoons and teaching and doing demos, but I would love to help anybody who I can. Be patient with me. And if there's something you need to know or you want to study with me, then I'm hoping to be able to take on new students sometime in the new year. And yeah, like that.
Perfect. So starting with the first question here, we have a question from Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
He wants to say, first off, thanks for setting aside some time to talk to everybody today. And as for the question, do you do all your voices separately and then kind of, fill in the gaps in your software? Or do you just go back and forth between the voices? Also, do you do audio or written notes on each character to keep track of?
Okay, one question at a time.
Yep.
First question, do I do one character at a time or do I go back and forth? Is he asking when I'm auditioning or when I'm in studio recording?
Let's hear both.
If I'm, well, the answer is the same for both. If
Okay.
I assume the question is if I'm auditioning for multiple characters or playing multiple characters, do I go back and forth? When I'm auditioning, I concentrate on one character at a time. Absolutely. And when I'm in the recording studio, we just do one character at a time, and then we do a run through, unless it's a really, Ron, give us a scream over here. Okay, let's move on. But more times than not, you're just always going to concentrate on one character, which is really important because when you're auditioning, you want to be focused and committed just to that character, right? So if I'm playing this character and I'm playing that character, I don't want to go back and forth. It's going to screw up my mind, about fully realizing the character. So if I'm auditioning and if I'm recording, I stick to one character and do a whole run through until I'm happy and then start on the second character. And I think there's a second question.
Yeah. Do you, for the notes, like when you're marking your script, do you do it through like audio cues or do you keep written notes for each character to keep track of them?
I'm kind of old school. And once again, are you talking about marking a script for an audition or just keeping a list of characters?
I read kind of exactly what he said there. So I'm hoping that he means for script tracking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If I don't have a script with me. Oh, yes, I do. I'm kind of old school. So if I have a script, I have little lines and notes and highlighters and everything like this. When you do, I know for audiobooks these days, they like using iPads, so you don't have the paper noises in the studio and you have to do annotation. That's a whole different ball game. But for me, I print out a hard copy. I mark the breaths. I mark the scripts. I mark when I have to smile, when I have to go up, and when I have to go down on certain lines. I write in all my little improvisations and everything like that. So I do it the old-fashioned way by hand because I read it from a hard copy. If I was the way my studio is set up, this isn't the studio that I record in, but the way the studio is set up, I use my laptop for my editing equipment, not to read the script with. If you're comfortable reading the script on your laptop, then absolutely mark, your lap. But when I work with students, I like them to have a hard copy so they can write in little arrows and little breaths and little everything like that. So I hope that answered your question.
Definitely. Great answer there. And I, having that kind of reference to show your script, I'm sure they really appreciate seeing.
Wait, this is a recipe for my mother's cookies.
I did have a cool comment here from Ro. I know it's not a question, but want to make sure.
Okay.
Threw it out there. She said, "This is so awesome. I grew up
great.
with these shows. Love it. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Voices."
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah.
This is my pleasure. It really is.
Oh, that's awesome. So next question is Charles. He says, I hear character VO, animation, or video games can be very difficult genre to break into. You may touch on this, but what is your experience and how would you recommend getting started in booking gigs for this genre? Is there any specific route that you might point somebody in?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very general question. How do I get into the business, right? And
Yep.
he said animation gaming, I think he was asking
Yeah.
about.
Animation, video games.
Whether it's animation, video games, commercials, whatever, it's as a voice actor, it's I'm going to answer this two ways because when I was starting out, there wasn't the amount of pay to play sites on the internet. There wasn't voices.com and and a few others. You basically had to get an agent and have the agent send you out for auditions. These days, and I don't want to get too heavy into the union, non-union, and everything like that, but these days things have turned around quite a bit with the with the advent of all the social media platforms and websites and profiles, and you can really kind of market yourself independently. So there are a lot of sites, voices.com included, absolutely, that you can audition and get gigs that way. But if you want representation and you want to get an agent, you obviously need a demo. You have to show kind of, what you do. As I said before, it doesn't matter what you look like or how old you are or anything like that. Everything is your voice. So having a demo is so important, not just in trying to get representation, but also in getting work, and I know on Voices, people have, their e-learning, their commercials or animation, demos. And that's your calling card, as a voice actor. So to answer your question, work with a professional voice coach, get as much practice as you can. As I said earlier, acting classes and improv and anything to develop your acting skills and your character skills are really helpful. Get a really good demo together. First impressions are everything. If you do a demo that's like not that you're doing in your basement and you're trying to put some music on top of that, that's, that might not cut it because the competition is pretty serious these days. If you have a really, really good demo, that's going to kind of not only show other people, producers and casting agents, from your website or your profile on Voices, and but also you can start sending it out and submitting, to agencies. And you can also start submitting to, asking about animation and gaming. A lot of the gaming and the animation go through like the agencies for the casting process, but some have in-house casting. So it wouldn't kill you to send stuff to Ubisoft directly or to send stuff to, I don't know if you send it to Disney, I'm sure they have a casting department that you can send it to. But my advice is to practice until you're ready to get a really great demo happening, and then start promoting yourself and sending that out for submissions. And then it's just,
Definitely. I think that was a really great point that you touched on, even, of course, with specifically to this topic and this genre, but even just overall, something we really try to reiterate is, how important demos are. Having on your profile, whether it's for voice match score or, somebody landing on your profile, giving them an accurate display of some of the amazing work that you can do. There's so many routes that it can benefit you.
Absolutely. And you have to. It's like, who's going to buy a car without seeing the car? Who's going to go to a plumber without a reference? Who's going to, like, you? So the demo is your calling card. And I wish we had a lot more time, but, it's so important that you do okay, so for a commercial demo is very important, for straight reads. And you might, when you're just starting out, you're probably going to get more auditions doing straight reads, right? You're probably going to get more commercial e-learning kind of reads. I consider that the bread and butter of the industry, and the gravy is the animation. It really is. But the kiss of death for a demo is to have like one piece that goes on, like if your demo is a minute and a half, to have one piece that goes on for 34 seconds is crazy. Also, I've heard some animation demos that are like 8 minutes long, which is insane. A commercial demo should be approximately, give or take, about a minute, right? I go a minute and a half to 2 minutes on animation. I give it a little more leeway, but each clip I keep to between 10 and 15 seconds. When somebody listens to your demo, they're going to know within the first like 3 to 5 seconds, they get a vibe on your voice, right? They know where you're at. So there's no sense in doing that for the next 28 seconds, Get in and get out, put all your good stuff off the top, get their attention to get them through, and make it professional and get it really well produced. It's worth it to pay the money to get it compressed, to take out the breath, to take out the mouth sounds, to put in, production qualities and music and sound effects, because this is, you get 1 gig out of it and it pays for the demo. So yeah, it's very important.
Definitely. And actually, on to the next question. I know this is just something that you actually touched on, so I think it's a perfect segue. When you started out, did you mostly do commercial work, and did you break into animation? Or what was your journey, and how did you really kind of, break into the industry, and what was your normal back then?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit everything at once. I mean, without giving you my whole bio, I mean, my background is in comedy. I started with Second City doing improv, and then I did stand up, and then I started doing more serious acting, theater, and some film and commercials, and then. Yeah, I auditioned for a bunch of commercials, and I did, a little commercial here, a little commercial there, and then I got to audition for a cartoon series, and I think I was reading for Tim Burton for Beetlejuice. That was one of like my first ones ever, and I was like, oh my god! And it's like, can you do this? Oh, sure. Can you do this? Can you do this? And then I got to work with Stan Lee, and like basically slowly but surely,
that is so cool.
Slowly but surely, I got out of the on-camera side of things, and I just fell in love with the genre of animation. Like, it was amazing. I could go into the studio in a baseball cap and a pair of jeans and just kind of do a dozen voices, and really, they paid me for it. And so I, like every comedian, you want to do drama, and every dramatic actor wants to do comedy. So I moved to New York. I studied acting at the neighborhood playhouse there. I did theater in New York. I did stand-up all throughout North America. Like I said, everything helps. I did improv. I did acting classes. I did stand-up, and it all culminated by starting to audition for cartoons. Now, remember, back in the 80s, there wasn't all the Cartoon Networks and Teletoons and Treehouse and Disney Junior and like 1,000 that there are now. So it was few and far between. But there's a handful of us, and we kind of got everything. But yes, at the same time that, and still to this day, at the same time that I'm auditioning and booking animation, I'm auditioning and booking commercials too. So it's not like I just do this and not that. So I hope that helped.
Well, and the hard part is that, nowadays, say with, a platform like voices.com, you're getting 15 auditions in a day and all over the place. That wasn't the case back in.
Oh God. No, gosh. But the difference, Kyle, is with voices, you're getting 15 a day, but how many people are you going up against?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's global, right? So you're going up against tons of people. So back in my day, I wasn't getting 15 auditions a day. I mean, I was getting a couple a week, but you're going up against a few dozen, not a few hundred, So it's kind of, I kind of came in at the right time. I came in just at the beginning of the comedy boom when I was doing comedy, and the beginning of the cartoon boom when I started to do cartoons. Like, now there are so many cartoons, but like I said, there's so much competition too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just be prepared. They say luck is opportunity and preparation, right? So, you'll get the opportunity. Just be prepared. And you do that by studying and getting your demo together and working with a professional and kind of doing that. Also, when I was growing up, I never, there wasn't any, there's no cartoon teaching. There's no classes. I learned by the seat of my pants working with like these amazing directors and everything like that. I took voice at, an acting school, but it wasn't cartoon voice. So now there's, and I'm not the only teacher in town. There's so many people willing, some are better than others, of course, like anything else, but there wasn't that available to me, and that's okay. I learned it the old fashioned way by doing it, Anyway,
Definitely.
I hope that helped.
Definitely. No, that was great. Here's an interesting one for you, and I'm curious about this. For your characters,
I'm sorry. Start again. You just cut out.
As for the characters, how much or at all do you improvise when doing your characters and your reads? Like, do you stick right to the script and then just create that character within yourself, or is it something you play with?
That's a great question. I assume they're talking about when you're like auditioning for a part, how much leeway do you have? And that's a great question. You don't want to change the dialogue, too much. You want to be true to what's there. But I always really encourage you to improvise with those sounds that I was talking about, like a laugh. You might want to kind of put in a chuckle or a word here and there. So say a sentence is, take a look at that. They're seeing a dinosaur flying overhead. So if the line is, take a look at that, and that's my voice, I might say, whoa, take a look at that. Okay. So I would kind of take the line and I would kind of maybe add a laugh, maybe add a whoa, like, so you're allowed to kind of, put in the odd word here and there, but you don't want to screw around too much with the actual written word because they might get it back and it's like, what are they reading here? Like, it's okay if you screw up a word here and there, that's okay. Or to make it your own, that's all right. Or to add a few little words in there. So minor improv is absolutely fine to do that, but don't play too much with the actual written word.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, let's see here. Just gonna find the next one here for us.
I wish I could see faces out there. I want to say hi and how you doing, everyone?
Oh, here's a good one. I think we touched on this in our preparation for this. Do you recommend standing or do you recommend sitting during recording, whether it be for
great question. For animation, I always stand. I'm sitting right now, but I mean, if I'm doing animation, especially with body language, I kind of want to be here and I want to kind of give it. Oh, sorry, I'm not wearing pants. Yes, I am. Okay, so there's this whole thing. Wouldn't that have been awkward?
Oh, that would have been a good one.
That would have been funny. It depends on the read. So animation, like I said, even if you're doing this character, it's still a ton of energy. Everyone's heard about the diaphragm and breathing and all that kind of stuff. When you're sitting, you're kind of scrunched over. And it's like when I'm doing commercial reads in studio, I sometimes sit because if it's kind of a low read and, the new Honda Civic offers you stylish driving. If you're doing that kind of read, then you don't need to release all this energy. So I sometimes sit when I'm doing commercial reads, but the way my sound booth is set up, it's my music stand is high. So I stand for everything. Standing kind of opens up, your energy channels a little more and opens up your diaphragm and you're able to kind of, so for animation, I absolutely stand. But a lot of times in the studio, if it's a commercial, if it's a low key read, I'll sit down.
Perfect.
Great question though.
And I've got two more here as we are running out of time.
Okay.
The second last one will be how do you prepare to do long sessions? Because as you know, I mean, best out of anybody, it is very tough on your voice, to be doing these different ranges, doing all these different grunts and everything like that. How do you prepare for long sessions? And then I think you gave away the secret at the start when you were taking a sip, but what do you use to soothe your vocal cords there?
That's a great question. Okay. Look, if you want to be a voice actor, my voice, that's my instrument. That's how I make my living. Right. If I ever get a cold, if you're a lawyer and accountant, you get a cold, you can still kind of go to work. If you're an actor, it's kind of, I once had this kind of cold and I had kind of a raspy voice and I auditioned for a beer commercial, right? And I went in and I read it and reach for the blue or whatever the brand was, and they really liked the read and they booked me like 2 weeks later and I was all better and I came in and it's like, reach for the blue, and they go, wait, where's that raspy, gravelly sound? So it can kind of work against you. So I take care of my voice. I try to, I have a humidifier in my bedroom in my house. I gargle, like before this session, I knew I'd be doing a lot of voices. I gargle honey and salt, and I just kind of coat my throat. I do the neti pot. I clear my sinuses and do all that kind of stuff. I'm drinking a warm beverage with honey, which coats the throat really nicely. I try not to overuse it. I directed a session yesterday and taught a few students, and I woke up this morning and was like, my throat's a little, oh dear, and sometimes you just got to get through it and find an octave that you can do it at, but keep hydrated, have a Halls or a menthol, and not too much sugar, and stay away from dairy. If you're going to record
really bad.
Dairy, cheese, chocolate, it's very mucusy. You don't want that. If I'm doing a long session, I will bring in a thermos, with tea and honey. I will have lozenges. I will have all that kind of stuff. And I will try not to talk too much the night before, whenever I'm doing a demo with someone, I say, get a good night's sleep, warm up your voice gently. That's the other thing that we haven't touched on today. And that's vocal warm-ups, right? And so there's, just make sure make sure all the, levels of your, all the octaves of your voice are kind of there, but don't blow out your voice, warm it up. And, some parts are harder than others. If you're, especially gaming, gaming, you are screaming. You are just like, for half of it. So you really have to be careful. So if I have a script and I have to do a lot of screaming or things that are going to be hard on my voice, I'm going to save that for the end. I'm not going to blow my voice out initially, So, but basically just take care of your voice. Yeah.
Awesome. And the last question, I actually saw it earlier. I just
the last one.
Great question to end on here.
Okay.
One of our users wants to know, Ron, do you have any classes?
Do I have any classes?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, you know what? Because of this crazy world we're living in right now with the pandemic, I used to love, I do a really fun workshop. I do like a 5-hour Saturday afternoon workshop. I used to, and I will again. And we do everything that I talked about today, and you're in the studio and you get really cool scripts, and I direct you, and you get MP3s of all of your stuff, and it's really great. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, I can't teach in person, right? So I'm considering, I really like the in-person kind of thing. I teach a lot on Zoom, one-on-one private lessons, whether it's commercial or animation or whatever the case. But it's I'm missing the actual personal contact. To answer the question, I'm not doing any group workshops or group classes right now, but you know what, in the new year, I'm getting so many requests for that. In the new year, I think I might see the interest level in doing a Zoom workshop. It's not the same as being in person, but I'm finding that the Zoom teaching is just fine. Like when I work with students, I send them scripts and I direct them, and we work on stuff, and it's just great. So I continue to teach online like this, Zoom. I do hour sessions. It's on my website. And I work with either animation or commercials or narration or e-learning or gaming or a little bit of everything. I'm not doing any group classes at the moment, but I will let you know when that happens, and you can post it on your site. If I do any workshops, it's going to be a Zoom workshop. And I hope to be doing that. And at the moment, I'm just doing private one-on-one sessions. And when I do demos, I do them remotely. The student has to find a studio, or they go to my studio here, and then I direct them remotely. And, it's the good news for me is I've been extremely busy, and I have a bit of a waiting list happening. So that's good for me, not so good for new students. That said, I'm always taking on new students, and whenever I have an opening, and I hope to have an opening kind of, early in the new year to take on new students, I will. So yeah, that's a very long answer. Yes, I'm teaching one-on-one Zoom. I'm still doing demos and everything like that. I'm not doing any, obviously, in-person workshops. I may be doing Zoom workshops online. I hope that answers your question, and thank you for your interest.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. Well, of course, that brings us to our end of the webinar today.
Aw.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe we'll get to do one again in the new year.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I can't see any of you out there, but I really appreciate you spending an afternoon or an hour with me. And I hope you got something out of this. And it was absolutely my pleasure to share some of the things that have been successful and helpful for me. And thank you, Kyle, and thank you, Lindsay, for getting this all together. And I hope to see all of you soon. And happy and healthy holiday season, everyone.
Definitely. Hey, thank you to everybody who carved out the time to be here. Thank you so much, Ron.
My absolute pleasure.
Peace and knowledge on the subject is unmatched. So I really appreciate you being with us. And then, of course, just to remind everybody, there will be a recording sent to anybody who registered for this webinar about 24 hours from now. And of course, one last shout out to Ron here, and to his website, ronrubinvoice.com.
Great. Thank you very much.
No problem. Everybody have a great day. Have a happy, safe holiday, and we'll see you all in the new year.